Hello folks, this is Tom Martin. This is my lottery strategy game, Decoding the Powerball guessing game. I'm picking my numbers for the drawing on May 16th, 2018. If you want to play my game, Decoding the Powerball, to help assist you in picking your own numbers, then please go to my website at www.patreon.com/Decoding the Powerball. I have 7 strategies with my game, Decoding the Powerball. So strategy number 1, the game card color code. Okay, so if you've never seen my videos before, why I make them is to show you on how to use my game. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I call the game card. This represents all 69 white ball numbers in the Powerball lottery. I really don't have anything for the Powerball itself. My goal is to get all 5 white balls correct and win the $2 million prize with the Power Play option. Okay, so first things first is I'm going to go to the Powerball homepage, and the 5 white winning numbers that just came up were the 22, 42, 45, 55, and 56. Again, I really don't care about the red ball. Okay, so what I do is I take those 5 white winning numbers and I put it at the top of this list, and then I take the last 3 drawings of numbers and I transfer these numbers over to the game card as red numbers. Then I'll do the same thing with the orange area, the green area, the blue, and the purple. I have 5 different colors, one to represent each one of the 5 white winning Powerball numbers. So for this drawing here, I have 15 red numbers, 11 orange, 12 green, 18 blue, and 13 purple. And the number of colors change with every single drawing. Okay, so over here to the right is 227. This tells me how many color code drawings I kept track of so far. And again, these are the color code drawings, okay? So out of this 227 drawings, 118 drawings have come up a 3-color combination. 82 drawings have come up a 4-color combination. 22 drawings have come up a 2-color combination. And only 6 times out of 227 drawings have all 5 colors come up together. And never has it been just one color. Okay, so this number right here, this number 2, this tells me how many colors just came up in the last drawing. So you can see that there's 3 orange numbers, 2 green, for 2 colors total. Okay, so how I use this game is I try to correctly guess what the next number here will be. Okay, so more than half the time, it does come up a 3-color combination. Okay, but the overall strategy is to reduce the numbers, okay? So, as I see it, again, there's 69 white ball numbers total. Only 5 numbers can come up as winners, so that means 64 numbers can't come up at all, okay? So, for me, I just think it should be easier to pick the numbers that won't be coming up than the 5 that actually do. Okay, so to help me do that, I'm going to turn to how hardly ever do all 5 colors come up together, okay? So the strategy is try to guess which one of these colors won't be coming up and eliminate that group of numbers off of the game card. Okay, so for this drawing here, my guess is that no red numbers will be coming up, okay? And we're all going to look at this a little bit differently, okay? So I may see red for this drawing and you may pick blue for some reason. Okay, so again, it's all our personal guess here, and again, mine is no red numbers. And the reason why I'm picking it is because when I look from this area down to here, I just see a lot of red. Okay, so I just think that the red is due to miss. Okay, so again, I'm going to eliminate all these red numbers off of the game card. Okay, so to speed things up, I'm going to scroll to the right. And this is what the game card looks like so far with no red numbers to it. Okay, so you can read underneath, color code, no red numbers. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm spending $3 on a Powerball ticket, which includes the Power Play. Okay, so in other words, I'm betting $3 that none of these red numbers will come up. Okay, and if I'm correct with my bet and none of these red numbers come up, then I'm one step closer to that $2 million prize. Okay, so I'm off to the next strategy. And that's strategy number 2, the individual numbers. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I call the individual numbers. And how this works is up at the very top is the master for each individual number, okay? And over here to the right are the numbers that just came up in the drawing. Again, it was the 22, 42, 45, 55, and 56. Okay, so that turns out to be a 3-group combination. Okay, so I'm going to reduce this down so you can see the whole card and see what I'm talking about. Okay, so what you're going to see here is that there's 7 groups total. Okay, so group number 1 holds the numbers of 1 through 9, and then it's the teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Again, for 7 groups total. Okay, so there's only 5 white winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so that means 2 of these groups won't be able to have a winning Powerball number to it. Okay, so the strategy is try to guess which one of these groups won't have the winning Powerball number to it and eliminate that group off of that group of numbers off of the game card. Okay, so again, the overall strategy is to eliminate numbers. Okay, so how I use this is this big square right here. This is good for 5 drawings. Okay, and the reason why I break it down into 5 is for a couple reasons. Okay, so if I want to go back into the history of things, this is much easier to count by going 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. Okay. Another reason why I do it is because if there's a lot of hits within this group of numbers for this 5 drawings, then maybe there won't be so many hits in the next 5 or vice versa. Okay. So again, the overall strategy is to eliminate numbers. Okay. And my pick, and again, we're all going to look at this a little bit differently, but my pick is no 50 numbers. And the reason why I'm picking this is because a 50 number has come up in the last 7 drawings. Okay, so I just think that is due to miss. Okay, so I'm going to eliminate the 50 numbers off of the game card. Okay, so I'm just going to blow this back up. Okay, so another way I could use this is I could just highlight one number, like the 16, and I could go back through the history to see what colors have come up. Okay, so if the 16 is in the red area here, and it hasn't been red in a very long time, then maybe I'll consider picking the 16 because it hasn't been red in a very long time. Okay, so as I go down through, you can see that the 16 hasn't been red for a very long time here. Okay, these 3 way down here. Okay, so maybe the 16 will come up because it's in that red area, and a red number hasn't come up. A red spot hasn't come up in that 16 in a very long time. Okay, so another way I use this is I try to correctly guess what number of groups are going to come up. Okay, so most of the time it's either a 3 or a 4. Okay, so you can see that here's a couple of 5s here that came up. Those come up every now and again. Okay, but as you look at things, you can see that it's either 3 or a 4, and again sometimes a 5, and every once in a while a 2 will pop up. Okay, so here's an example of a 2. Okay, so it was 2 20 numbers and 3 60 numbers. Okay, and I've never seen a 1 come up, so I've never seen all 5 winning Powerball numbers come up in one group, like all 60 numbers. Okay, so I'm off to the next strategy. Actually, I'm off to the game card. Sorry about that. I'm going to scroll to the right. Okay, so this is what the game card looks like so far, with no red numbers from the color code and now no 50 numbers from the individual numbers. Okay, so when I block out a number like this means that I'm not even going to consider this number when I'm picking what I think will be the 5 white winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so if I'm correct with my picks and none of these blocked out numbers come up in the next drawing, then the 5 white winning Powerball numbers have to be within these numbers still left on the board here on the game card. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next strategy. Strategy number 3, picking the numbers I hope will miss from group 1. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I call my group 1 numbers. Okay, so basically what I did is I divided all the numbers into 4 different groups. Then I put colors to these groups. Okay, so down here below is the stats. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back to the Powerball page. And again, the 5 white winning numbers that came up were the 22, 42, 45, 55, and 56. Okay, so you can see that the 22 is here in the blue, okay? So down here in the blue, this represents those blue numbers, okay? And you can see I have a 1 right here, and again, that represents that 22. And then in the orange number, it's the 42 in the orange, okay? So down here in the orange, that 1 represents that 42. And then over here in the green area, you can see it's the 45, 55, and 56, and that's what that 3 represents. Okay, so over here in the red, you can see that there's a 0, and that means that none of the 5 white winning Powerball numbers landed in that red area. Okay, so the strategy is try to correctly guess where these zeros are going to pop up. Okay, so if I could have correctly guessed that none of these red numbers were going to come up in the last drawing, I could have eliminated all these red numbers and really gave myself a much better opportunity at picking the 5 correct winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so my first pick for this drawing is, first I want to say that I have 15 of these option cards, okay, and they all kind of look the same as far as the colors, okay, they're all red, blue, orange, and green. It's just that the numbers that they represent are a little bit different from each other from each different option card. Okay, so you can see option card number 1 where the green numbers are, and then option card 2 where the green numbers are, and then option card 3 where those green numbers are, and then option card number 4. Okay, so you can see that they're all a little bit different, but all the same colors. Okay, so for my pick for this drawing, I'm going to pick that option card number 4, no orange numbers will come up, okay? And the reason why I'm picking this one is because this has hit 19 drawings in a row, okay? So that means one of these orange numbers have come up in the last 19 drawings, okay? So I just think that it's due to miss, okay? I think it's due to have a 0 to it. So again, I don't believe that any of these orange numbers are going to come up in a drawing, so I want to get rid of them. Okay, and I'm going to get rid of them through the game card. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back to the game card. I'm going to scroll to the right. And you can read underneath group 1, option card number 4, no orange numbers. Okay, so you can see that all these orange numbers are gone. Okay, so I want to point something out here. Okay, so you can see that there's just 4 squares here, okay? But on the game card, I have 4 squares and I have these numbers off here to the side, okay? So again, there's 69 white ball numbers total. But what I wanted to do is put it into 64 squares, okay? And the reason why I do that is because 64 is a nice round, even block here, okay? So you can see I have 16 squares here, 16 here. I got 8 squares going from top to bottom and 8 squares going from left to right. Okay, so everything's all nice and even. Okay, so what I did is I decided to have the 8 share the square with the 66. Okay, so how you have to look at this is if I decide to get rid of this whole square here, I'm going to get rid of the 8 and the 66 as a group. Okay, so basically what I'm doing here is I'm dividing the numbers into certain groups, and then I'm trying to correctly guess whether that group of numbers is going to come up in the drawing or not come up in the drawing. Okay, so at this point right now, I'm trying to guess what numbers are not going to come up in the drawing. Okay, so as I go back to group 1 here, okay, let me go back to the game card here. So the reason why I have these numbers off here to the side and not having this 8 kind of crammed in here with the 66 is because of the color code. Okay, so you can see that the 8 is green for this drawing, and the 66 is blue. Okay, so if I wanted to get rid of all the green numbers, I would get rid of the 8, but the 66 would still be in play. Okay, so as I go back to the group 1 here, my next pick is going to be option card number 5, no green numbers. Okay, so the reason why I'm picking this one, and again, we're all going to look at this a little bit differently, okay? Now, as I go down through this column here, you can see that this one hit 28 drawings in a row. Okay, but the thing that I want you to see here is that every once in a while, these ones come up a lot, okay, for every single column. So as I go down through, you can see here's another one over here, and as I keep on going, here's another one and another one, okay? But, you know, they come up fairly often, okay? So this one over here in the green area hasn't come up since way down here, okay? So as I head back up, you can see that there's no ones at all, okay? So I just kind of think that it's due to happen. I think that this is going to be a 1 right here, which means that this has to be a 0 if that were to happen, okay? So again, I think that's what's going to happen. So I don't believe that any of these green numbers are going to come up. So I want to get rid of them. And again, I want to get rid of them through the game card. Okay, so as I go back to the game card, I'm going to scroll to the right. And again, you can read underneath group 1, option card number 5, no green numbers. And you can see that I blocked out all those green numbers here. Okay, so again, if I made all the correct picks on these blocked out numbers, then the 5 white winning Powerball numbers have to be within these colored numbers still left on the game card. Okay, so I'm going to go back to group 1. And my next pick is option card number 9, no green numbers. Okay, so the reason why I'm picking this one is because you can see that this 0, this double 0, okay, every once in a while it will happen where you'll have 2 zeros back to back, okay? So as I go down through, I'll show you what I mean here. So here's a double 0, okay? And down here, here's another double 0 with nothing in between. So it's kind of back to back. Okay, so as I go down through the green area, that has never happened before. Okay, so I never had anything where it's back to back like that. Okay, so I think that this is a good opportunity for that to happen. So as I get to the top here, I'll show you what I mean. So here's a double 0, okay? And now I think that this is going to be a double 0 as well, okay? So if that were to happen, then I don't believe that any of these green numbers are going to come up. So I'm going to eliminate these green numbers through the game card. Okay, so again, I'm at the game card. I'm going to scroll to the right. And again, you can read underneath group 1, option card number 9, no green numbers. Okay, so you can see that I'm knocking down the numbers one by one here, okay, little by little. And now I'm going to go back to group 1 for one more pick, okay, and that's option card number 14. Okay, so again, I have 15 of these option cards, okay, so again, I don't believe that any green numbers are going to come up, okay? And the reason why for this one here is because as you can see that there's a couple single zeros here, okay? Single blue marks, and there's 5 of them, okay? But as I go down through, you're going to see that there was a bunch here, okay? It actually came out to like 22 single blue marks, okay? So since there was so many single blue marks down here, I just don't think there's going to be so many up here at the very top, okay? So I think this is going to double up here. And again, we're all going to look at this a little bit differently. So for me personally, I just think that no green numbers are going to come up on this option card 14. So again, I want to get rid of them. And I'm going to get rid of them through the game card. Okay, so I'm going to scroll to the right. So again, you can see that option card number 14, no green numbers. Okay, so you can see that I really knocked out a lot of numbers. Okay, and if I'm correct with all my picks and none of these blocked out numbers come up, then the 5 white winning Powerball numbers have to be within these numbers still left on the board here. Okay, so I'm off to the next strategy. Strategy number 4, picking the numbers I hope I'll miss from group 2. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I call my group 2 numbers. Okay, so much like group 1, where I divided things into 4 different groups, here I divided things into 8 different groups. Okay, so again, there's only 5 white winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so I know that at least 3 of these groups won't be able to have a winning Powerball number to it. Okay, so the strategy is try to correctly guess which one of these groups won't have the winning Powerball number to it, and then eliminate that group of numbers off of the game card. Okay, so I have 15 of these option cards as well, and they all have the same colors as far as red, blue, orange, green, purple, brown, gray, yellow for all 15 option cards. It's just that the numbers that they represent are a little bit different from each other from each different option card. Okay, so you can see here in option card number 1, the red area goes from the 1 down to the 57. And then over here in option card number 2, the red areas go from 1 to the 66. Okay, and then in number 3, you can see that the red area goes from the 4 to the 28 and the 37 to the 61. Okay, so again, they're all a little bit different. Okay, so I also want to show you on how I use this. Okay, so I'm going to bump this up to 100% here. Okay, so I'm going to point out this red area right here. Okay, so down here in the stats, here I like to keep stats of every 5 drawings. Okay, and the reason why I do that is because it shows me a majority. Okay, so here this 0 means that none of the 5 white winning Powerball numbers landed in this red area. And of course, this 2 means that 2 out of the 5 white winning Powerball numbers landed in this red area. Okay, so what I do is if there's 3 or more zeros here, I color the background blue for cold. If there's 3 or more hits, I color the background red for hot. Okay, so as I go down through the history of things, you can see that things are cold, 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 and then they get hot, hot, hot. Okay, so here's the thing. Since the lottery is so random, I know that nothing can stay hot forever and nothing can stay cold forever. Okay? If it did, then it wouldn't be random. Okay? So as I go down through, again, you can see that this got really hot. So I know that eventually it's going to turn cold. I just have to correctly guess when that's going to happen. Okay? So for this drawing here, my guess is that option card number 2 will have no orange numbers to it. Okay, so as I head back up here, this is the stats for the orange right here. And as I go down through, you can see that things were kind of like 50-50 here. Okay, got a little bit hot, back to cold, and now I think it's going to stay cold, and I think there's going to be a 0 right here. Okay, so again, if there is a 0, then that means that none of these orange numbers will come up, hopefully. Okay, so again, if I don't think they're going to come up, then I want to get rid of them. And I'm going to get rid of them through the game card. Okay, so here, I need to go back to 90%. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down. And you can see underneath group 2, option card number 2, no orange numbers. Okay, so as I head back up here, you can see that this was the orange, 17 to the 20 and the 21 to the 24. So the only one that's left is the 19, 20, and 67. So I'm going to get rid of those 3 numbers. Whoops. And you can see that I got rid of them and the 19's gone as well. Okay, so I'm going to go back to group 2, and my next pick is going to be option card number 4, no yellow numbers. Okay, so here's option card number 4. Here's the stats for the yellow. And as I head down through, you can see that things got hot, and they kind of stayed hot. Okay, so now I think they're going to start to cool off. Okay, so I think there's going to be a 0 right here. Okay, so if that happens, then that means that I hope that none of these yellow numbers will be coming up. Okay, so I'm going to eliminate these yellow numbers through the game card. Okay, so now I'm going to scroll to the left. And again, you can read underneath group 2, option card number 4, no yellow numbers. Okay, so compared to the last one, the 27 and the 63 were there in that yellow area. Okay, so you can see that they're gone now. Okay, so I'm going to go back to group 2. And my next pick is going to be option card number 11, no purple numbers. Okay, so again, I have 15 of these option cards. Okay, so here's the stats for the purple. And as I head down through, you can see that things were really, really cold. Then they heated up a little bit. Okay, and it's kind of been 50-50 here, and I just think that this is going to be cold right here. Okay, so I think there's going to be a 0 right here. Okay, and again, that means that I don't believe that any of these purple numbers are going to come up, so I want to get rid of them. Okay, and the only one left is this 9 right here. Okay, so as I go back to the game card, I'm going to scroll to the left. And you can see option card number 2, group 2, option card number 11, no purple numbers, and that 9 is gone. Okay, so I'm going to go back for one more. And that's option card number 13, no gray numbers. Okay, so here's the stats for the gray. And as I head down through, you can see that things were really cold. Okay, then they started to heat up a little bit. And I just think that it's going to stay cold here. Okay, so I think there's going to be a 0 right here. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of any gray numbers left, and I believe the only one left here is the 43. Okay, so you can see the 43 right there, and as I scroll on over, you can see that 43 is gone. Okay, so again, if I made all the correct picks, and none of these blocked out numbers come up, then the 5 white winning Powerball numbers have to be within these numbers still left on the board. Okay, so I started off with 69 white ball numbers, and now you can see I'm down to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so again, if I made all the correct picks, then my odds are much better now at picking the 5 correct winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so to help me really pinpoint these numbers, I'm going to turn to the next strategy. Okay, and that's strategy number 5, the 50-50 picks. Okay, so what you're looking at here is what I call the 50-50 picks. So again, there's 5 white winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so there has to be a majority of either odd numbers or even numbers, or numbers to the high side or numbers to the low side. Okay, so I like to keep track of that and try to correctly guess what the majority will be for the upcoming drawing. Okay, so how this works is this 272. This is how many drawings I kept track of so far, and this goes back to October 7th, 2015. That's when the Powerball lottery went from 59 numbers to 69 numbers, okay? And out of this 272 drawings, 136 drawings have been the majority of odd numbers. 136 drawings have been the majority of even numbers, okay? Which I just think that's amazing myself, okay? So again, what I try to do is correctly guess what the majority will be for those 5 white winning Powerball numbers. Okay, so my guess is that it's going to be more odd numbers than even numbers. Okay, so when I pick my numbers, I want it to be at least 3 odd numbers to it. Okay, so as moving on here, this one is high and low numbers. Okay, so all the numbers in the red are high, all the blue are low. And you can see out of all the drawings, 134 drawings have been the majority to the high side, and 138 have been the majority to the low side. Okay, so as I go back into the history of things, again, I like to break things down into 5 because it shows me a majority. So out of this 5 drawings, you can see that the majority was high numbers, 3 drawings to 2. Okay, so as I keep on going back into the history of things, what I'm looking for is a long streak of red here. Okay, so far, I don't, down here is a pretty long streak of 4. Okay, so when it hits 4, hardly ever does it go 5. Okay, so, if something hits 4, then I'm going to go the opposite way. Okay, but here, it's only 3, and I kind of think that it's going to stay one more because it's been so sparse over here on the high side. Okay, so again, we're all going to look at this a little bit different. It's a 50-50 guess. Either it's going to be high or low. There's only 2 options here. Okay, and my pick is that the majority of the 5 numbers will come up on the high side. Okay, so moving on. Here's left and right. Okay, so the majority has been 135 drawings for the majority to the left side and 137 to the right side. Okay, so as I go to the game card, you can see that there's only 2 numbers here to the right side. Okay, so that kind of means that I have to pick that I think it's going to be to the left side, which I like because the last 4 drawings, the majority has been to the right. Okay, so one last thing that I have for the 50-50 is this blue and red area. You can see that the red area has really been dominant over the blue, 156 drawings, so 116. Okay, so at some point, I think that this blue area is going to catch up. Okay, so I think it's going to be blue for this next drawing here. Okay, so I want to make sure that I pick at least 3 numbers here in this blue area. Okay, so one last thing that I have, and this is for the red ball number, the Powerball number itself. Okay, so as I go back to the Powerball homepage, the red number was 14. Okay, so again, how this works is there's 69 white ball numbers and there's 26 red ball numbers. So if you get all 6 numbers correct, you win the grand prize. And this week it's 280 million here. Okay, so as I go back, what this column is right here, okay, how this works is, again, there's 26 red ball numbers total. So if you're looking in this column and you see a blue number, then that means it's a low number, 1 to 13. If you see a red number, then that means it's high, 14 to 26. Okay, so over here in this column, if you see a red number, then that means it's odds. And if you see a blue number, then that means it's evens. Okay, so for me, I just kind of like looking at the colors here now. Okay, so down here, you can see that there was a long streak of red. Okay, so I knew it was going to be blue at some point. I just have to correctly guess when that's going to happen. Okay, so if I could correctly guess, then I could cut the numbers in half. All right, so picking from 13 is much better than picking from 26. Okay, so for this drawing here, I just have a feeling that this is going to stay red. Okay, and I have a feeling that this is going to stay blue. So I think the Powerball number is going to be a high, even number. Okay, so as I go back to the game card here, I'm going to scroll down. And here's the 50-50 picks. So again, I think the majority of the 5 numbers will be odd numbers. I think the majority will be to the high side. And I think the majority will be to this blue area here. Okay? So automatically, I think the 34, 35, the 31, 34, 35, and the 47, I believe are going to come up. Okay? So now I just got to find out what's going to happen with these 3 numbers here. Okay? So I'm going to turn to my next strategy. And that's strategy number 6, picking the numbers I hope will hit from group 2. Okay, so as I go back here to this group 2, again, I have all the same colors: red, blue, orange, green, purple, brown, gray, yellow for every option card here, for all 15 option cards. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is that there's 15 red areas, 15 blue areas, 15 orange, and so on. Okay, so I like to keep track of that, and I call that my Group 2 overview. Okay, so I'm going to go to that right now. Okay, so I'm almost there. Okay, so this is what I call the Group 2 overview. Okay, so here is all the red areas like I talked about. Okay, so on the left side here are the hits, and on the right side are the misses. Okay, so down here you can see that there was 8 hits, 7 misses out of those 15 option cards. Okay, so the magic number here is 8. It's right in between 15. Okay, so if there's 8 or more hits, I color the background red for hot. If there's 8 or more misses, I color the background blue for cold. Okay, so again, now I just have to look at the colors and try to guess what color is going to come up. Okay, so for this drawing here, I think this blue area is going to have lots of hits to it. I think this is going to be red right here. Okay, and I also think that this brown area is going to have a lot of hits to it. So I think that this will be red as well. Okay, so as I go back to the game card here, I'm going to scroll to the right. Okay, so again, I think there's going to be lots of hits among the blue and brown areas of Group 2. Okay, so how this works is this number 1 in the yellow area, that represents option card number 1, okay, in the brown area. So as I go back to Group 2, okay, you can see that the blue area represents the 2 down to the 68. So I look at that blue area on the game card here, and you can see that what's left is the 2, 10, and 34. So I wrote that over here, 2, 10, and 34. Okay, so as I go back to Group 2, looking at the brown area, it runs from the 6 down to the 62. So when I look here, the 6 down to the 62, there's nothing there, so I put a 0 right here, okay? So I did that with all 15 option cards, and these are the numbers that I came up with. Okay, so I'm off to my next strategy, and that's strategy number 7, picking my numbers. Okay, so I'm going to scroll to the right, and the numbers that I'm going to go with for this drawing are the 10, 31, 34, 35, and 47. Okay, so with this combination of numbers, this will give me, in the blue area, 9 hits and 6 misses. Okay, so as I go back to this blue, again, I think that this is going to be 9 over here. This 6. And again, since this is more than 8 hits, I'm going to be coloring it red. Like so. Okay, so I just wanted to give you a visual of that. Okay, so as I go back to the game card, again, the numbers that I'm going to go with are the 10, 31, 34, 35, and 47. Okay, so again, more than half the time, in the color code, it does come up 3 colors. So you can see that the 10 is green, the 31 is orange, and then the rest are purple. And that will give me 3 colors total. Okay, so I kind of like that. Okay, and then when it comes to the individual numbers, okay, again, most of the time it's either a 3 or a 4. Okay, so you can see that a 10 is in its own group. The 330s are in its own group. Okay, and the 47. So that will give me a 3. Okay, 3 groups. So as I go back, I think that this is going to double up, but I think that this will be a 3 as well. Okay? So again, one last time, the numbers that I'm going to go with are the 10, 31, 34, 35, and 47. So when it comes to the 50-50 picks, again, I thought there was going to be more odd numbers than even. So you can see that the 31, 35, and 47 are all odd, okay? I thought they would be to the high side, and of course that 34, 35, and 47 are all to the high. And I thought there would be more to that blue area. So you can see that the 31, 34, and 35 are all to that blue, okay? So again, that's how I use my game. And again, we're all going to look at this a little bit different. So we're all going to come up with different numbers. Okay, so one last thing here. Okay, so again, if you're interested in getting my game, okay, in using my game, then please go to my website at www.patreon.com/decoding the Powerball. And if you'd like to send me any feedback, then please email me at decodingpowerball@gmail.com. Again, that's just decodingpowerball@gmail.com. All right, folks, I appreciate you watching. If you like the content of my channel, then please subscribe. And as always, I like to wish everybody the best of luck with your picks.